Hey guys, I've had a lot of questions about this recently, and I wanted to talk about it real quick, and that's study habits. And so, it's been a few years since I've been in school, but I still remember what I did and how I kind of managed things. I actually have seen a few people recently, and I get this on Twitter every once in a while. People will like call me a genius, or someone say, "Well, you're so much smarter than everybody else. Like it's hard for people to understand." I'm really not. I have, based on IQ scores and how I performed, like I had better than average intelligence, but it wasn't like astronomical by any means. And I really actually struggled when I was a kid growing up. I have attention deficit disorder, and I took medication for it for a long time. And by the time I was in grad school, I was basically able to get off the medication and kind of deal with it myself. And a lot of that was just learning good study habits, like knowing that I get easily distracted and that I'm not the kind of person who I can go into a library with complete silence, sit down and study for 3 hours straight and retain that. That's just not me. What it takes the normal person to study for, it might take me twice as long. I remember in high school talking to some of my peers, and don't get me wrong, I got good grades in high school. I had a 3.5 in A average, and I took advanced classes, but I remember some of these kids, I'd ask them, like, "Hey, well, how much did you study?" You study for tests? I'm like, yeah. Like some of the chemistry tests, I'd have to study like 15, 20 hours for. And I'd still get a B, which is a good grade. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not one of these, the new millennials who think that everybody deserves an A. But, I really studied very, very hard, harder than most of my classmates. And I still wasn't getting some of the grades that they were getting. And so it definitely wasn't an issue of me being smarter than everybody else. Again, I'm a relatively bright, intelligent guy, but I really had to learn how to make the most of my study time. And something I always knew, I never kind of had a system for studying when I was in high school. I just kind of would open the book up and do it. So I really developed a system when I was in college. I'd say about the time I was a junior, I kind of had it down, and then by the time I was a senior, I really refined it, and that's why I got progressively better grade-wise throughout my college career. I was a 3.5 student in high school. I was a 3.6 in undergraduate school, and then in graduate, I think I graduated with like a 3.91, something like that. And it was just that progression was from me getting better at studying. And so one of the things I would do, you guys now, when I got to college, we had just gotten to the point where professors were giving PowerPoint presentations instead of chalkboard. So we could print off the notes ahead of time, and being able to print off the notes and just have those there so I could listen to the professor instead of feverishly writing everything down, but just having those notes there was a huge help. So if you guys have that opportunity, obviously print those off before you go in. And I would print them three slides a page with note bars on the side, and that way I could write notes. And those things, I would write shorthand notes when I was in class, and that would help a lot. And that allowed me just to kind of listen to the professor. The other thing I would do is as soon as I got done with class, I would get back to my dorm room and I would immediately recopy those notes. Immediately. And if it was PowerPoint notes that I printed out ahead of time, I would print them out again and write down my notes from class again and anything else I remembered. Okay? If it was just handwritten notes, all of them, I would completely rewrite them back down. I did that for physical chemistry. We didn't have notes before class. So for PChem, I would completely recopy all my notes, and sometimes it was 4 or 5 pages of notes. Okay? So I would do that in class, when I got home, and then when I would start my round of studying for whatever test was coming up or whatever, and I wouldn't just not look at it, I'd read over it again. When I start my round of study, I would copy them down a third time. And then I would go back and start studying. But between the time that I copied them down immediately after class, and then when I copied them down a third time when I started studying, or started kind of the final peaking for the test, I also would read the book. So I'd read the chapters of the book, all right? And I would highlight in the book. Now, a lot of you guys are concerned about reselling your textbooks. I would, yes, if you can resell your textbooks, great. I kept all my textbooks. I have all my textbooks because I reference them sometimes, like especially my biochemistry and nutrition text. I reference those all the time. So I would highlight in the book, and that would help me. So once I'd done that, once I made the 2 notes, copied those, read the book chapters, did my third copying down of notes, then I would start doing some of the quizzes, okay? And the quizzes would identify where my knowledge was lacking or where I was struggling, all right? Almost all the books have quizzes. So I would identify the weak points where I was having trouble with, and then I would focus on those, okay? So I'd go back through the notes, I'd go over it, rework the problems over and over and over and over until it made sense to me. And then I would go and study with other people and have them quiz me. And that really made a big difference. And then me studying with other people, having to explain it to them. When you have to explain something to somebody else, it makes you understand it so much better. So much better. So get in study groups. I mean, that's a huge thing. And then talk to the professors or the teachers' assistants. All of them have hours, okay? Like, or if you're in high school, talk to your teachers. Most of them, now not all of them, some of them suck, but most of them want to help you. That's why they chose that profession, all right? If professors have office hours, go to the office hours, okay? I cannot emphasize to you enough how important that is. If you're complaining about your grade and you didn't go to office hours, you really have no right to complain. Zero, zilch, none. I don't care if that's your workout time. I don't care if that's, your video game time or whatever it is. Get to those office hours. That will make a huge difference for you. Sometimes something that would have taken you 3 hours on your own to figure out, you can cover in 15 minutes. All right, it's just a more efficient use of your time. And don't be late to office hours. If you make an appointment with a professor, if you show up late, oh man, I mean, don't. Then the kind of cadence that you study with. Some people can go to a library, sit down for 3 hours straight, and just bang it out. I'm not one of those people. If you're not one of those people, for me, what made the biggest difference was giving myself breaks. Instead of stop trying to force myself to study straight through after my attention span had gone, I had a rule. I would study for 45 minutes, and then I would take a 15-minute break, play a video game, or, answer some, read stuff online. This is when I was in grad school, so I'd usually go read the BioLayne.com forums. Or I'm sorry, in undergrad school, I'd go read the BioLayne.com forums. But I would study for 45 minutes, rest for 15. And then when I came back to that, I would be mentally refreshed. And it really helped me. That really helped me. So, I mean, none of these are magic tips, but it really made the difference. And keep in mind, I see a lot of people who complain about their grades, and they complain about studying and stuff. And as bad as it sounds, you're just not working hard enough. Some of you guys, I understand that some stuff just doesn't make sense. I really struggled with instrumental chemistry, some of the theory behind some of the instruments I really struggled with. And I really studied hard, and I still got a low B, but I earned that low B. It was fine. I felt good about it because I studied hard and I got what I deserved. Just because you don't get an A, it's not a reflection on who you are as a person. All right? I didn't get straight A's. I've never gotten straight A's in my life for a year in school. Never. Okay? So, focus on learning and retaining the material, because that letter on the report card doesn't mean shit if you didn't retain it. Okay? So, I'll leave you with a good story. My first test I ever failed in my life was organic chemistry. I'm sure some of you guys can relate. And the easy thing for me to do would have been, screw this class, whatever, I'll go do a different major. but actually it made me much more interested in organic chemistry. And I remember I went to the professor after the test. His name was Dr. Grove. I still keep in touch with him to this day. I actually saw him the other week. And I told Dr. Grove, I said, listen, I'm not complaining about my grade. I understand that I did F-level work, but I really did study hard for this. And, I spent a lot of time like, what can I do to get better? And he said, I know you're a hard worker, and maybe this just isn't as intuitive to you. And, if you want to come to my office and talk and we can work through some of these problems, I'll be happy to do that. But that may just mean you have to study harder. If it's not intuitive for you, you may just have to study harder. And I understand you're studying hard now, but you're going to have to study harder. And okay, that's exactly what I did. And you know what? I ended up with a B in that class. And a lot of people complain about B's, but I was proud of that B. I was really proud of that B. And that kind of tough love he gave me was super important. And you know what? He actually ended up picking me to do summer research with him because he saw how hard I worked. So sometimes it's not about getting the A. Sometimes it's about showing how hard of a worker you are, how much of a grinder you are. And people appreciate that more than somebody who just intuitively gets it, So hanging out with him, going to office hours, again, like he wrote recommendations for me in graduate school. I got a B in his class. I didn't get an A, and he still was happy to write me a very, very nice letter of recommendation for graduate school, right? So sometimes it's not about the things we do when we're crushing it that end up making us successful. It's about the things that we do when we're really struggling that make the impressions on people and that make us successful. So keep that in mind. But in short, copy your notes, go to office hours, and go hard. And find a system that works for you. Okay, maybe my system, the way I did it, won't work for you. But experiment with different things and figure out a system that'll work for you. And understand that if you don't put the work in, there is no magic that's going to help you. There's no 4-hour work week. All right, there's no 20-minute way to learn a new language or there's no easy way to teach somebody organic chemistry. Like, it's just going to be work. And embrace that. Like, embrace what that means. Like, go and go in for knowledge. If you get an A, great. That means maybe you understand the material a little better. But go for that knowledge, because that's what's important. Because I've met with classmates and everything, and me getting the B and some of them got an A, I still retain some of that knowledge more than they did because I had to work so hard to obtain it. Okay? So go for it. All right? And go for that knowledge. And I think you'll be surprised what you can accomplish. Hopefully this was useful. I like doing videos like this for students, especially because I have a passion for helping students. If you want to help other students, please visit the BioLayne Foundation, which is on my website, BioLayne.com. 100% of your donations are tax deductible and go to fund research in the fitness community for graduate students. We gave out $10,000 our first year, we gave out $20,000 last year. So please go and donate. Your donations make a huge difference, even if it's just $5. Go to BioLayne.com, go to the About section, click the BioLayne Foundation tab. Thank you guys, really appreciate it.